Hello everybody and welcome to another video. In this video, I basically want to talk about the AND operator in Java and what it is and what importance it serves. So the idea of the AND operator is an extension of the Boolean concept. We talked about in the last video how Booleans are essentially true or false. And then I've shown you types of Booleans that you can have, such as equal equal, which says, okay, does this side equal this side, which could evaluate to true or false. And that's just basically a Boolean. There's another concept in Boolean known as the and what the AND does is it has two separate conditions, and what it says is if this side is true and this side is true, then the final resulting value will be evaluated to true. For example, it will have two sides, and the possible outcomes that you could have could be true slash false. You could also have false, true, and then you could also have true, true, and finally the last outcome you could have is false, false. And again, think about it like one side and another side. What are the possible outcomes for two different sides of an equation? For example, the left-hand side could be true and the right-hand side could be false. The left-hand side could be false and the right-hand side could be true. The left-hand side and the right-hand side could both be true. And then the left-hand side and the right-hand side could both evaluate to false. And so what is AND? AND is basically the idea where both conditions of an equation have to be equal, meaning they both have to evaluate to true. For example, this side has to evaluate to true and this side has to evaluate to true. Hence, that's how we get AND. For example, and you can't have true on this side and false on this side. You can't also have false on this side but true on this side. But this is where AND is. AND is perfect for a situation like this where you have two sides of an equation that are true and true. And there's also, this can not be true because both sides are false. Again, I'm just speaking it. Now let me go ahead and show you what I mean by encode. Let me go ahead and show you what I mean. Let me just go ahead and create a Boolean. Let me say Boolean yes. And I'll just say 10 plus 12 equal, what is that, 22? So again, this is just one side. We talked about the concept, how this is just a Boolean. Let me go ahead and call it. Let me go ahead and just call it. And let me compile it. And then let me go ahead and run it. If I could put a semicolon. So that's just basic, and then let me just go ahead and print it out. Again, this was just from the last lecture. Land, yes. What does this evaluate to true? I'm typing too fast, guys. I apologize. Println. So this evaluates to true. Let me go ahead and do the same thing. Let me create another Boolean, and I'll call it Boolean no. And I'll say 10 plus 11 equal 22. And let me go ahead and print out no. So here we have the situation where this is true and false. And now let me introduce to you the idea of where AND comes in. AND is this symbol known right here. It's 2 %. And what it does is it takes one Boolean and another Boolean and it evaluates it. So both of the Booleans both have to evaluate to true. In this case, we have Boolean yes, which is true, and a Boolean no, which is false. Let's just go ahead and make a Boolean. I'll call it Boolean total. And I'll say yes and no. And what goes in between both these is something known as the AND operator. Now, some of you guys, it may be your first time seeing this, but again, this just works like a Boolean. It says it takes Boolean yes. A Boolean can have two values, true or false. It takes yes, so what does yes evaluate to true? What is yes equal to? Yes, in this case, equals 10 plus 12 equal 22. That's true. And then we have another Boolean, and then this AND says, okay, and also this Boolean, meaning, okay, this Boolean and this Boolean. And here we have a Boolean 10 plus 11 equal 22. And what does this evaluate to? That evaluates to false. So what we are doing is we are saying true and false. What's going to be the final result value of that? System.out.println. Let me just go ahead and print it. Total. And I will go ahead and just comment out this, and I'll comment out this, and I will compile it. And what do we get? False. Like I mentioned, and both sides have to be true, meaning you can't have one side be true and another side be false. You can't also have one side be false and another side be true. You have to have both sides equal to true. So both sides have to be true and true. So that's just the AND operation. If you don't believe me, let me go ahead and change this. Let me say 10 plus 10, and let me change this to 20. So now what is this doing? What does Boolean yes have? Boolean yes has true, and Boolean no has true. And then we're combining it into a big Boolean and saying yes. So true or false, and then true or false. So this says yes, which could be true or false. In this case, it's true. And no, which could be true or false. In this case, it's true. So what's going to be the result of total? Total is going to be true. There we go. It's true. If you don't believe me, I can make this 23. I could have this case where it's this the left hand side here is false and the right hand side is true. Let me go ahead and do that. There we go. We have false. We could also have this case right here where both of them are false. So I can make this 10 plus 10 equals 21. And it's false. And so that's just basically the idea of and. It's used in a lot of many applications. For example, when you're going to a website, it does a bunch of validation check. It says, okay, did this person enter the correct password? Did they also enter the correct phone number? Did they also enter the correct social security number? Did they also enter this? Did they also enter this? So you will see the and operation used a lot, especially when you're writing code and when you're doing a bunch of validation checks. So for example, you want two things to be, you want a lot of conditions to be true. For example, I could have this be multiple. I could say yes and no. And I can say yes. I can have all of these cases right here. It's just a Boolean at the end of the day because it's false because all of these are false. It's going to be false, 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 false because all of these are false. You could have as many ands as you want. You can, as long as you separate it by an ampersand. And the idea is that both sides have to be a Boolean type. So you can't just say a string and a string. Again, we'll look at strings have something known as equals, which we'll talk about, which is a Boolean value. Again, there are many ways that you could introduce Booleans, which will be used a lot. So that's just basically the underlying details of the AND operation. It has many applications like I talked about. For example, doing a bunch of validation check on a website, which you will hopefully use later on in your career. But that's just a little introduction to Booleans, more specifically the Boolean type AND. I hope you enjoyed this video. I hope you learned what AND is, and I'll see you in another video. Thanks for watching.